What's going on, Robert? How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you, Greg?
Doing good, dude. You still go by Bobby, and obviously you're Robert on the show, but how's that transition process been the last couple of years?
It's been fine. I mean, whenever anybody's mad at me at home, my mom used to call me Robert all the time, so I'm kind of used to it, right? So, no huge transition. I'm completely used to it by now, but my close friends still call me Bobby.
Yeah.
Or Dolph calls me Bob. It's one of those things. I answer to a lot of things.
Yeah, I was going to say Dolph calls you Bobby on the show, so it gets a little confusing sometimes. Yeah. But it's not like your name is like Rick or something now. You know what I mean? So it's like at least it's
right.
It's the same name. It's just a longer version of Bobby, so it's not like drastically different.
Right.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time, man. I appreciate it. You're one half of the SmackDown Tag Team Champions right now. You guys are doing great work. Talking about Dolph, you guys have been teaming now for the better part of a year and a half. How has that experience been for you?
It's been great. I've always loved tag team wrestling, and I've had some success throughout my career in a tag team and competing as a tag team guy. And I've always, from an early age, when I was, 8 years old, when I first started to watch pro wrestling, sports entertainment, I was always a fan of tag team wrestling and the tag team psychology. And Dolph is, his record and his career thus far kind of speaks for itself. He's an amazing talent. He's a good close friend of mine. So we share a lot of the same beliefs. We share a lot of the the same type of style that we like to work. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of success. We were Raw Tag Team Champions earlier on too, and now, like you said, we're the current SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So we're having a lot of fun, and having that friendship outside of the ring certainly helps as well.
Yeah. And you guys have been teaming now for a while. Like you said, you're the Raw Tag Team Champions for a little while, SmackDown Tag Team Champions for a few months now as well. How did the process to become tag team partners kind of come about? Because at the time, you weren't doing much. Dolph wasn't doing much. You guys kind of got put together, found immediate success. You guys became Raw Tag Team Champions within a month of beating, Rollins and Braun Strowman. So was that like hey, me and Dolph are friends, let's try this out? I know Paul Heyman was kind of in charge at that point creatively. Was that a Heyman call? What was the kind of the process there?
Yeah, it actually was a Paul call. Yeah, it was Paul Heyman's idea. Basically, we just, like you said, I wasn't doing a lot at the time, and Dolph has kind of always been in and out of the, for whatever reason, just kind of he'll be busy one month and the next month you don't see him, and so we were showing up to TV. We weren't doing a lot of stuff, and one day we got to TV, and Paul pulled us over and said, "I have this idea, and I'm going to pitch it." And next thing we knew, we were, I believe that night, I want to say it was in New Orleans, we did a gauntlet match to be the number one contenders, and we won that match, and we faced Braun and Seth Rollins at a pay-per-view. I think it was Night of Champions, possibly. And,
Clash of Champions,
Yeah, Clash of Champions, and then we won the titles. So it was a Paul idea, and we just kind of ran with it. And like I said, we have that chemistry together. When you're in the ring with someone that you can just feel that chemistry. And to be honest, it was kind of odd and cool at the same time, because when I got called up from NXT, my very first program on SmackDown was against Dolph.
Oh, right.
And even as opponents, we had that chemistry. We had some really good matches. And so that's kind of where it all started. And then when we came together as a team, that chemistry just kind of ignited again, and we've had a lot of success.
Yeah, and you guys work really well together, too. And it's not just a tag team it's a makeshift tag team. At this point, you guys have been together for long enough. You guys have had a lot of success. And it's just even on paper, even when you weren't teaming, I think if you guys were put together in a lineup, it's okay, these guys make sense to be tag team partners. And I think Paul Heyman saw that as well. And obviously, you guys have worked super well together since then. And like you mentioned, you've always been a great tag team wrestler. You've had a variety of partners. Chad Gable right before him. Obviously, James Storm back in the day. How does being with Dolph kind of compare to being with James and with Chad Gable?
Well, I think it's just one of those things you kind of, as you move along in your career, you kind of mature, I guess, or see things differently. And, like you said, I had a lot of success with a lot of different tag team partners. Eric Young was another one that I had success with.
Yeah.
But, it's something with Dolph. I don't know what it is. It's his just the way he thinks in the ring. It's like him and I are on the same level. The style that he works and the style that I work really mesh well together. And it's just like if I think of something, he's thinking it the next second, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, if we go to do something in the ring together, it's just like we know what's coming next. You know what I mean? And it's a chemistry that it's really hard to describe, but I feel it more so with Dolph than any other partner that I've ever had. And Chad Gable was a guy that, he's having some pretty great success right now in a tag team with Otis, but he was a guy that wasn't being used a lot at the time that him and I were tagging, and we kind of had that somewhat chemistry as well. He was a younger guy, more of an amateur athletic type of wrestling background, so we were kind of opposites almost. I was more of the pro wrestling style. He was an amateur style guy. I'm kind of a little opposite, but we meshed well together. But when it comes to Dolph and I, even though Dolph is, he has a background, Kent State champ or whatever it was, I always buggle about that. But, he has some amateur background as well. But it's a different, on a pro wrestling level, him and I are just like, we get it. You know what I mean? It's just that chemistry is there.
Yeah, no, and the chemistry is just there, and again, it shows in your matches, which has been super cool to see. And even you just saying, with Eric Young being a tag team partner back in the day, there's still more teams. I completely forgot about Austin Aries being another one. I mean, you guys teamed on occasion as the Dirty Heels. Was that where the Dirty Dawgs kind of, I know there was Dirty Heels, Dirty Dawgs now. Was that a conscious decision? Who came up with the Dirty Dawgs name?
Two totally different ideas of trains of thought there. The Dirty Dawgs thing is just a bit of a, I don't know. It was started as a running joke amongst friends, and it's one of those things. Like Dolph and I have been in this business for a long time. I've been around for 23 years, and I always say that he's been around for 40. But the reality is he's been in WWE, for quite some time. Back. He was a caddy for Chavo Guerrero, and then he was in the Spirit Squad, and then, his career just kind of took off. So he's been around a lot. Him and I have seen, even though we weren't together in the same company, we've kind of watched how the business has evolved. We've learned from the best of the best. We've been in the ring with the best of the best. So, Dolph, what can I say? I mean, he's just, one of those guys that he just gets it, you know what I mean? And so I'm kind of going off track here.
No. Yeah.
What was it? Just repeat what you want the question again.
Yeah, no. You basically just said it right there in terms of the Dirty Dawgs tag team name.
Yeah, the Dirty Dawgs. Yeah, I mean, it was just like it's a running joke kind of amongst friends, but I guess we're just the old dogs in the locker room, so to speak, and when you've seen it all and been around it all, you kind of learn that sometimes you have to play dirty, and it's just kind of the moniker we go by. Whatever we have to do each night to get the job done, that's what we're going to do, and we've been pretty successful thus far with that mindset.
And you kind of already mentioned it, but with Dolph, were you guys, maybe not friends, but did you interact at all before he came to the company 5 years ago? Or was that program that you guys had back in 2017 the first real interaction that you guys have had?
No, that was the very first real personal interaction. We knew of each other. We had some, close friends, but that was the very first time. The first night we actually wrestled against each other on the live event was the first time I shook his hand and met him face to face.
Wow.
But obviously I kind of followed his career. I was always a fan of his. I always thought he was a fantastic talent. And, so I kind of knew kind of what to expect and what he could do in matches. And I'm one of those guys that kind of imagines what I can do with a guy, with an opponent, before actually getting out there. And he was just, everything just clicked with him. And like I said, him and I, that chemistry is something pretty special.
Yeah, and with the tag team that we're seeing with you guys now on TV, is there any inspiration there with the jackets you guys wear and stuff like that? Or is that just your style? Do you look to a certain movie I would like to kind of mirror this? Or is it really just kind of organic, I guess?
Just kind of organic, yeah. Just trying to be different and look more as a team. We want to be represented as a team, presented as a team in all aspects. When we first started tagging together, I would still wear the robe and I would have my my glorious gear, and he would wear his, stuff. And, we just thought if we're going to do this, let's do it right. And we kind of have a little bit, we're old school guys, I guess you could say. And we like the Fantastics, we like the Midnight Express and those tag teams of that era where, kind of channel our work rate and things like that, the way how we want to present ourselves and look, kind of to that type of era, so to speak. But it just kind of happened organically. He had some ideas, I had some ideas. I didn't want to get away too far from the glorious stuff, and so it's still kind of in there, and it's imprinted on the jacket. But yeah, so we want to look and, like I say, and be presented as a team. So we've kind of got our gear somewhat matching, and we look like a team now.
Yeah, no, just a genuine tag team through and through, which is awesome. And as a longtime fan, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the music as well.
Yeah.
Noticed the music has changed, and when we were coming out before, it was kind of a blend of both of ours.
Yeah.
And later on, more times than not, it was just Dolph's music, but now it's a blend. It's one song, but a blend of both. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's Tag Team 101. You got to have the matching gear, the same theme song, or like a tag team theme song, not just one song, like you said, which has been it's
Absolutely.
cool. It's been cool to see that evolution over the last year and a half. And speaking of the last year and a half, it's flown by, but almost as much as, myself being a longtime fan of yours, Robert, dating back to your Impact days, whatever. It's been almost exactly 5 years since you first showed up in WWE. A year ago from 5 years ago from next week, April 1st, you showed up at TakeOver Dallas over WrestleMania weekend and WrestleMania 32. It's wild to think it's been 5 years. Have the last 5 years flown by for you as much as it has for everyone else?
Yeah, now that you're telling me that, you're the first one who's actually kind of pointing that out. Yeah, it has. It really has. But it's been a blast. The NXT experience was better than I ever thought it could be. I was excited when I got there to Dallas. I remember just nervous and anxious at the same time. I was in the business for a long time leading up to that, and just kind of leaving another company that I was at for such a long time. And I'm not. My personality isn't one for change. So I get into a routine, and that kind of, change is tough for me, but I was looking forward to a change. And I remember being in Dallas and walking into the hotel and just being kind of in awe of the way the WWE machine works. Yeah. And, was welcomed, with open arms, to the locker room at NXT, and, Triple H had was huge, getting me in there. We had some great conversations, and I knew a couple guys there already. Samoa Joe was there, Finn Balor at the time was there, and NXT as well. So it was kind of an easy transition. But I spent a year in NXT, and then everything was August of 2016, I believe. It was my debut on SmackDown, and it's been a fun ride ever since.
Yeah, no, like I said, the last 5 years have just absolutely flown by, from being on NXT for a year, then SmackDown, Raw, kind of back and forth since then. And you mentioned how you were where you were previously for such a long time, and to make that jump, maybe not scary is the right word, but it can be a risk. You don't really know what to expect, and you can stay where you are and be comfortable, or move on and try new things, and you've been successful as a former multi-time tag team champion, U.S. champion, NXT champion, which has been cool to see. At that point, it was right before you came to the company. If I remember correctly, like, you put out a picture on Twitter of you in an airplane looking out the window. I forgot what the caption was, but it was like, looking forward to the future, or something like that. Did you know at that point that you'd be NXT bound, or was it really not until the TakeOver debut happened a couple weeks later that it's like, okay, I'm set in stone, I'm headed to WWE?
I had no idea what was next. I just knew that I was burnt out, and I knew that I needed to get away from where I was.
Yeah.
I just wasn't. It wasn't that I wasn't happy personally, because I had a lot of friends there, and I still enjoyed being around everybody, but it was I just needed to get away. I felt like I was getting stale, just numerous things. And I just needed to get away and needed to restart my engine, so to speak. And at that time, I had no idea what was going to be next, but things moved pretty quickly, thankfully, and was given an opportunity, within a few months, within talking to Triple H. Matt Bloom was a big part of that as well. But yeah, things, moved pretty fast.
Yeah. And since you've been in the company, you've been a regular on the show ever since. I don't think you've been hurt once since you've come to WWE, have you?
No, knock on wood, don't jinx me. I have never, honestly, throughout my entire career, I've never had any major injuries. I've never missed any time because of injury. So I've been good that way, knock on wood. But yeah, no, just, obviously the pandemic had a lot to do with my time away last year, which sucked. But I'm back now, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, no, the pandemic was kind of a big part. You were gone for a while, 6-7 months and whatever, and it was great to see you back. You came back in a grand way with the NXT, or not the NXT, the WWE Championship match on Raw with Drew McIntyre, kind of rekindling that rivalry with Roode, with Drew McIntyre a couple years earlier, which was cool. Kind of going off that for a quick second, COVID vaccination, PSA, WWE's huge on that right now. We see the commercials on Raw, on SmackDown. Why do you think that's important with everything else going on right now?
I just think it's time to get back to normal. You know what I mean? It really is. And I can tell you firsthand, being a talent and performing in the Thunderdome is an amazing experience, but I really miss the WWE universe, having a live crowd. I broke in 1998, and one of the things I was taught was to feed off a crowd, and you can't do that now. You know what I mean? You just can't, and it's part of the business. The fans have always been such a huge part of WWE, and it's that part of it just needs to get back to normal. And I hope that we're not too far away right now.
Yeah, I think we're definitely closer to the end than the beginning, which is cool to see with the vaccine being out and WrestleMania having fans in a couple weeks. So, things are looking up, I think it's safe to say. But as we, for sure. And as we kind of wind down here, Robert, you came back to Raw after a multi-month absence due to the pandemic. You came back with the longer hair for the first time. We haven't seen you with longer hair in a long time. Was that a conscious decision? Did you okay, I'm not going to get a pandemic haircut, or what was going on there?
Well, I live in Canada, so everything was locked down. So I wasn't going to trust anybody with just a pair of scissors, and I just thought, hey, why not? And I knew I was going to be sitting at home. I didn't know how long. I was eager to get back to work. Believe me. Like I said, it was changed. When you're used to being on the road and being home for 3 days and gone for 4, and that's the routine and the life that you're used to. It's hard to be home for days and months at a time. So I was eager to get back to work, but. Yeah, I didn't have anybody to cut my hair, plain and simple. So I got back to work, and it was time to get it cut. So we're back to the short look now. Yeah,
back to the short hair. After you came back with the long hair for a week, and then it was gone within a week. So anyone who was a fan of the long hair was probably disappointed, but it is what it is. But final question for you, Rob.
And hey, it's a lot of work to maintain too.
Yeah,
now I'm a little older, so. You have to put a lot of product in that long hair every week to maintain my youth. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
No, it makes sense. Yeah. Absolutely. Final question for you, Robert. Having been here for 5 years now, with everywhere that you've been, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, favorite match that you've had, and also a couple more things that you want to accomplish as far as goals are concerned in WWE.
Favorite match? I don't know. I mean, I've had some real enjoyable matches. I guess the one that sticks out is the match that I had in San Antonio, NXT TakeOver against Shinsuke when I won the NXT Championship. Pretty special night for me. But as far as being on the main roster, I think one of my favorite matches is probably the match that I had with Randy Orton on pay-per-view. Yeah. So that was definitely I think I like it so much is because I wanted to work with Randy for such a long time. And in my opinion, bell to bell, there's nobody better than Randy Orton in my era. So it was an honor to be in the ring with him. And I think, again, he's another guy that we had really great chemistry with, and I could work every single night. He's just that good. So those are two matches that kind of stick out, but there's plenty. There's a lot of matches that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, and I think if you told anyone 10 years ago that would be seeing, Robert Roode and Randy Orton on pay-per-view, they probably, A, wouldn't believe you, and B, probably wouldn't believe that it was a United States Championship match, too. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think about, especially with you being Canadian, that, you're being Canadian, you're the United States champion, so it's kind of funny to think about. But, one half of the SmackDown Tag Team Champions right now. People can catch you every Friday night on Fox on SmackDown alongside Dolph Ziggler. Robert, this has been awesome, man. Longtime fan. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.